Now we are going to add a new route. I'm going to call it as a login, right? At the rate app dot route. I'm going to new route login, right? And the methods that I'm going to accept in the route itself, route function, the first part is basically providing the URL. By default, it is assume if you don't provide anything, it is considers that as a I'll accept any method. I'll accept any method. Right here, I'm going to say, okay, methods that I'm going to accept is only, let us say, get and say post. Only these two methods I'll accept. And this particular route, this URL will only accept get and post. It will not accept delete or put. It will not accept delete or put. So def, I'm going to say login. Def underscore. I'm going to call it as a login as this method. If so, I need to check, okay, what is the current method? Is it a get method or is it a post method? I need a way to check what is my method. So from Flask import request. Now, what is the requested thing? So if you want to catch any of the requested data, requested URL and stuff like that, you can use the request module. Request dot method equals to get, right? I'm going to say, then enter the username, enter. Okay, or maybe I'll just say return invalid data. Okay, else if request dot method equal to post. Let us create one HTML where I can enter my username and password, and then we can post it. Right, username is equal to request. So I have to create a form. Okay, so basically whatever in the HTML we call it as forms, where we can submit data to the backend. Right, we'll create a form. So from that form, I am expecting a username. I'm expecting a username. Okay, and I'm going to return that username. Return f of, let me just say logged in as username. Okay, now let me just create one HTML, right? Okay, let me do that. So if it is a get, I'm going to render the HTML. Render template login.html. Okay, if it is a get, I'm going to say render login.html. If it is post, just show me who is logged in. Show me who is logged in. Okay, right. So let us go create one HTML called. What is the HTML that we should be creating? To create one HTML file, call it as
Login.
login.html because that is what I'm going to use. Page. Right. I'm going to create one h1 tag. Right. Just say login page. Right. And I am going to, there is in the HTML, there is a tag called form. Right. There is a tag called form. In the form, I'm going to create a label. Going to create a label, and label I'm going to say, okay, I'll create a label and then I'll write mine. I'll explain what it is. I'm going to take certain input tag, and the type of this input is text. Okay, and I'm going to use this ID as username, and name also as username. I'm going to And now this label is going to for, right, username and username. Okay, and in the form I'll have a button, and I'm going to say type is equal to, this is a submit button. These are all HTML predefined elements that I'm using here. Okay, and I think so. If I click on submit, where should the data go? Where should the data go? The method would be post, and the data will go to action. I have to define where should this data be posted to. Login URL. Where should this data be posted to? Login URL. I am saying you have to post this data to login URL, and the method that you would be using at the time of posting is post, and you would be sending this username, Okay, let me just save this, go back to the HTML and call login URL. Okay, do you have this is login page? Do you have a username field here where you can enter and submit? You can enter and submit, right? It is supposed URL submitted to this login, and it says login as, right? Since we did not enter any username, right? It did not send anything. So here what I'm going to send is admin, right? And say login, right? Logged in as admin. Now we are basically sending this data. We are basically sending this data in the form of, let me just, HTML, which contains a form, right? A form is being, this form data, whatever is the form data is being posted to this login URL, and the method is the post, and the method is post, and the label is username, right? And we have only one input tag with the name as username, right? And we have one submit button. The moment I click on the submit button, whatever is the value that I have entered here, it would post this data to the backend server. It would post this data to the backend server. So let us just go back to our application. If it is a post, I'm going to print request.form, right? Request.form. Just to show me what is there in the form. Show me what is there in the form, right? And I'm going to say manager, and we will see here, right? I'm just going to post this data. If you see here, first understand this is a request method is what? Post. Where is this data being sent to? Login. And what is the data that you had sent? You can check in the payload. It has sent the form data as username, and the value is manager. Value is manager. Clear? Now let us go back to the app, and we have printed, right? It's an immutable dictionary, and it says username is the key, value is manager. So when I say request.form of username, it is going to return this value manager. It is going to return this value manager, and I am returning that logged in as, replacing that username here and returning the string back to the UI. And that is where we can see that HTML. That is where we can see that logged in as manager. Are we clear with this? Right? Today we are going to look at so this is where we we'll stop here with respect to the Flask application, right? And we will see how to publish this into the Git. How to publish this into Git. I'm going to stop my server here, right? I'm going to stop my server. I'm going to back to the browser. I'm going to github.com. Right, I'm going to sign in. Okay. I don't know, whatever it is. Pick one square that shows two identical objects. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a new repository. I'm going to create a new repository, and I'm going to call it what is the batch ID we have? Can somebody tell me the batch ID? 2307. Okay, I'm going to create a repository with this name, and I'm going to keep it public. Tutorial, and that's it. I'm going to just create this repository, right? So this is telling, like, go to your project, right? And it is basically telling the steps here to follow, and I'm just going to blindly follow whatever this guy has given. I'm going to create one readme dot, right? And I'm going to say git init, because I want my project was not git so far. Now it will add all the git specific things, right? And I'm going to add everything. I'm going to say git commit -m and pass it and message first commit and done. So it has basically added all of these files and committed, right? Now, and git branch -m main, right? And I'm going to add this origin, right? And I'm going to push this code here, git push -u origin main. That is my main branch, right? And I'm going to say yes, and please ensure that I have access to the, okay, so I don't have access. So if I have to push github.com public key, permission denied, public key, where I'll have my public key. So I'm going to copy this and go here. So these are all, like, I have a one-time access. I have to tell Git to trust my laptop whenever I push something. So I have to tell them, give them certain information that I just generated from my laptop. So I am going to add that SSH key here, whatever. I'm going to add this SSH. This is actually a private key, sorry. Dot public key is what I wanted. So this is my public key. And I'm going to edit my SSH key, which I just added. Okay, so okay, I'm going to add, this is my SSH, my work laptop, and then add this SSH. Once I have added this SSH, it is basically here. And how I am going to push the changes. Now with this, whenever Git basically tries to authenticate, it checks, okay, this laptop also sends this key, and I also given the same key in the Git. So it assumes, okay, this guy is coming from so and so authentication, and this is already with me. And Git basically allows, right, this basically allows this particular source code to go in. Okay, so let me just check in this repository. Right, if you see, this is all committed just 3 minutes back. And if you see app.py, right, this is the code that we have written so far, right? And I have also have templates, right? All the templates that I have added since yesterday. The static, you can ignore this dot idea, right? There won't be anything, so we can ignore this, so we don't need that. But apart from that, like, the code that we have written yesterday and the code that we have written today is now committed into the GitHub, and you can access through this URL, and I'm going to send this to you guys, right? You can access that, right? So you must have access to the chat, right? Here. Okay, then
Yes.
that's it for today. Practice well, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.